Park stood at the window of his small apartment on Earth and watched the rain fall over the city of. He was 32 years old, worked as a language expert for the government, and had never expected his life to change so completely in one single day. The message came at exactly 9 in the morning. His computer made a sound, and when he looked at the screen, he saw the official seal of the United Earth Council. His heart beat faster as he opened the message and read the words that would send him across the galaxy. The Empire had invited a human to attend their most sacred ceremony. Out of all the people on Earth, they had chosen him. Read the message 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. They were the most powerful alien civilization that humans had ever discovered. They ruled over thousands of star systems and had lived for longer than human history itself. When humanity first met them 5 years ago, they had looked at humans the way a person might look at insects. They were not cruel, but they were not interested either. Humans were too young, too weak, and too primitive to matter. So why would they invite a human to their sacred ceremony? Did not know, but he knew he could not refuse. 2 weeks later, he boarded the spaceship called Horizon. It was the fastest ship that Earth had ever built, but compared to technology, it was like a bicycle next to a rocket. Captain Han welcomed him aboard with a firm handshake and worried eyes. "I will be honest with you," the captain said. "I do not trust this invitation. They have ignored us for 5 years. Why do they suddenly want us at their most important event?" Had asked himself the same question many times. "Maybe they want to show us something," he said. "Maybe they want to see how we react." "Or maybe it is a trap," said a woman's voice behind him. Turned and saw the ship's science officer. She was young, maybe 28, with sharp eyes and a serious face. She studied alien life forms and knew more about them than almost anyone on Earth. "The ceremony is called the Ascension Renewal," explained as they walked through the ship's narrow hallways. "It happens once every 500 years. The Empress absorbs energy from a dying star to keep herself alive. She has ruled for over 10,000 years. Felt a chill run down his back. 10,000 years. That was longer than human civilization had existed. The Empress had been alive when humans were still living in caves. "No outsider has ever been allowed to watch this ceremony," continued. "They consider it the most holy event in their culture. For them to invite a human is either a great honor or a great insult. I cannot tell which one." The journey took 3 weeks. Spent most of that time studying everything he could about customs, their language, their history, and their laws. He learned that they were tall beings, almost 7 feet, with skin that glowed softly from inside their bodies. They did not eat food like humans did. Instead, they absorbed light and energy directly. They considered themselves the most perfect species in the universe, and they had never been proven wrong. When the Horizon finally arrived at the home world, pressed his face against the window like a child, seeing the ocean for the first time. The planet was beautiful beyond words. Cities made of crystal rose up from the clouds. Rivers of pure light flowed between the buildings. The sky was filled with floating platforms where thousands have gathered to prepare for the ceremony. Everything glowed with soft colors that had never seen before. "It is like a dream," he whispered. "Do not let the beauty fool you," Captain said quietly. "These people could destroy Earth in a single day if they wanted to." A small shuttle came to bring down to the planet's surface, and wanted to come with him, but the invitation was only for one human. Had to go alone. The shuttle landed on a platform high above the clouds. A group of nobles waited for him, their glowing bodies making the air feel warm. Most of them did not even look at as he stepped off the shuttle. They talked among themselves in their musical language, and though had studied their words, he could tell they were saying things they did not want him to understand. One did pay attention to him. He was taller than the others, with cold light in his eyes and a cruel smile on his thin lips. He walked toward slowly, looking down at him the way a giant might look at an ant. "So this is the human," the tall said. His voice was smooth but full of poison. "I am Prince, brother of the Empress. I must say, I expected something more impressive." Bowed respectfully, hiding his fear. "I am honored to be here, Prince. Earth thanks the Empire for this invitation." Laughed, but there was no warmth in the sound. "Enjoy this honor, human. Savor every moment of it. Creatures like you do not live very long, after all." He leaned closer, and his glowing eyes burned into his face. "And some creatures live even shorter lives than they expect." Before could respond, walked away, leaving him alone among strangers who saw him as nothing more than an animal. A gentle hand touched his shoulder, turned and saw a female with kind eyes and soft golden light flowing through her skin. "Do not mind the prince," she said quietly. "His heart is full of darkness. I am Lady, welcome to our world." "Thank you," said, feeling a small bit of hope for the first time since he arrived. Lady led him through the crystal streets toward the grand celestial hall where the ceremony would take place. As they walked, saw thousands of preparing for the great event. None of them looked at him with friendship. Some looked curious. Most looked disgusted. A few looked angry. The grand celestial hall was the largest building had ever seen. It was open to the sky, built on a platform that floated above the clouds. In the center stood an altar made of pure light. Above it, hanging in the sky like a wound in space, was a dying red star. Its ancient light fell upon the altar, waiting for the Empress. Took his seat among the thousands of dignitaries. He felt small, alone, and afraid. He wished and were beside him. Then he felt something strange, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck. Someone was watching him. He looked across the vast hall and saw her. The Empress herself sat upon a throne of crystallized starlight. She was the most beautiful and terrifying being had ever seen. Her body glowed brighter than any other, and her eyes held the weight of 10,000 years. Those ancient eyes were fixed directly on. She was staring at him with an intensity that made his blood run cold. At that moment, understood that nothing about this invitation was simple. The Empress had brought him here for a reason, and whatever that reason was, it would change everything. The ceremony began when the dying star above the grand celestial hall pulsed with deep red light. A sound like 1,000 bells rang through the air, and every in the audience stood in perfect silence. Stood with them, his heart beating hard against his chest. The Empress rose from her throne. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible, as if gravity itself was afraid to touch her. Her body glowed brighter and brighter as she walked toward the altar at the center of the hall. The light from the dying star reached down like a river of fire, waiting to embrace her. Watched with amazement and fear. He had read about this ceremony in his studies, but seeing it with his own eyes was completely different. The power in this place was so strong that he could feel it pressing against his skin like invisible hands. Ancient priests surrounded the altar. They sang in a language older than anything had studied. The words seemed to shake the air itself. The dying star above them pulsed faster, its light growing stronger with each beat. The Empress reached the altar and raised her arms toward the sky. The red light of the star began to flow down into her body. Her glow became almost too bright to look at. This was the moment of renewal, when she would absorb the star's dying energy and extend her immortal life for another 500 years. A small sound buzzed in his ear. He almost jumped in surprise before he remembered the hidden earpiece that had given him before he left the ship. "Can you hear me?" His voice was tense and worried. "Something is wrong. Our sensors are detecting unusual energy patterns. The ceremony is not following the normal readings we expected." Could not respond without drawing attention to himself. He looked around carefully, trying to see if anything seemed strange. The in the audience were all watching the Empress with expressions of deep respect and worship. Nothing seemed out of place. Then Prince appeared beside him. The prince had moved through the crowd as silently as a shadow. He stood next to with that same cruel smile on his face. His cold eyes watched the ceremony, but his words were meant for the human beside him. "Beautiful, is it not?" whispered. "The power of a dying star, channeled through our beloved Empress. There is nothing in the universe more sacred to our people." Said nothing. He kept his eyes on the ceremony, but every part of his body was alert to the danger standing next to him. "It would be terrible if something went wrong," continued. His voice was soft like poison. "If the ceremony failed, if our Empress was harmed, our people would demand justice. They would need someone to blame." He turned his head and looked directly at, "And there is already a perfect suspect standing right here." Before could respond, a terrible sound filled the hall. It was like the scream of a wounded animal mixed with the roar of thunder. Everyone looked up at the altar, and what they saw made them cry out in horror. The energy transfer had gone wrong. Instead of flowing smoothly into the Empress, the star's power was tearing at her body like wildfire. Her beautiful glow flickered and cracked. Her face twisted in agony as she tried to control the energy that was destroying her from inside. The ancient priests tried to help, but the power was too strong. One by one, they were thrown back by explosions of wild light. The altar itself began to crack and break apart. "No," lady screamed from somewhere in the crowd. "Save the Empress." Chaos erupted everywhere. Nobles ran in all directions, their glowing bodies flashing with fear. Guards rushed toward the altar but could not get close. The energy was too violent, too dangerous. Stood frozen, watching the Empress suffer. He wanted to help, but what could a simple human do against the power of a dying star? Then he felt strong hands grab his arms. Guards surrounded him, their faces twisted with anger and fear. "The human," someone shouted, "the human has done this." Prince's voice rose above the noise, cold and commanding. "Seize him. The human has sabotaged our sacred ceremony. He has tried to murder our Empress." "That is not true," shouted, but no one listened. The guards dragged him forward, toward the center of the hall where all could see him. Stood before the crowd like a leader ready for war. "Our enemies have shown their true nature. Humanity has attacked us at our most sacred moment. For this crime, there can be only one punishment." His eyes burned with triumph as he pointed at the complete destruction of the human species. The crowd roared with fury. Thousands of voices called for blood, for revenge, for the end of humanity. Struggled against the guards, but they were too strong. He was going to die here, and Earth would die with him. But then his eyes caught something. In all the chaos, in all the destruction, he saw a small flash of light beneath the ruined altar. It was only visible for a moment, but trained eyes caught it clearly. A device. A small mechanical device hidden under the altar where no one would think to look. New machines. He knew human technology, and he had studied technology for months. That device was not human. Its design, its shape, its glow, everything about it was clearly. This was not sabotage by humans. This was betrayal by one of their own. Someone inside the Empire had tried to kill the Empress, and was being blamed for it. He looked at Prince, who stood before the crowd accepting their praise and fury. The prince's eyes were bright with satisfaction. He had planned this. He had set up humans to take the blame for his own crime. But could not speak. The guards covered his mouth and dragged him away from the hall as the crowd screamed for his death. In the distance, he could see the Empress collapse beside the broken altar, her light fading like a candle in the wind. His voice crackled desperately in his ear. "Respond. What is happening? Our sensors show the Empress is dying. The fleet is powering weapons. They are targeting Earth." Could not answer. He could only think of the device he had seen, the truth he had discovered, and the terrible fact that no one would believe him. The guards threw him into a prison shuttle. Through the window, he watched the grand celestial hall grow smaller behind him. Somewhere in that chaos, the Empress was fighting for her life. Somewhere in space, the fleet was preparing to destroy his home world. And somewhere in the crowd, Prince was smiling. Closed his eyes and made a silent promise. He would find a way to prove the truth. He would save the Empress if he could. He would protect Earth no matter what it cost him. But first, he had to survive. The shuttle flew into the dark sky, carrying the only person in the universe who knew what had really happened. And that person was now a prisoner waiting to die. The prison cell was made of solid light, had learned about technology, but feeling it around him was different from reading about it. The walls glowed with a soft blue color that seemed peaceful, but they were stronger than any metal on Earth. He had tried to touch them once, and the pain had knocked him to the floor. Captain and were in the cell with him now. They had captured the entire crew of the Horizon and brought them here to wait for their punishment. The ship itself had been destroyed, blown apart by warships before anyone could escape. "How many?" asked quietly. His face was gray with grief. 47 crew members. Only the 3 of us survived because we were already in custody. His hands shook as he spoke. 47 good people, dead because of a lie. Sat in the corner of the cell, her knees pulled up to her chest. She had not spoken for hours. The woman who always had answers, who always knew what to do, now looked broken and lost. "The fleet is moving toward Earth," continued. "They will arrive in 6 days. When they get there, they will burn our planet until nothing is left alive." 6 days. Closed his eyes and thought about his family his mother, his father, his younger sister who was about to graduate from university. In 6 days, they would all be dead. Everyone he had ever known, everyone he had ever loved would be gone. Unless he could stop it. "I saw something," he said. "During the ceremony when everything went wrong, I saw a device hidden under the altar. It was not human technology. It was." Looked at him with tired eyes. "Even if that is true, no one will believe us. We are humans. Our word means nothing here." "Then we need proof," said. "We need to find that device and show everyone what really happened." "We are in a prison cell," finally spoke. Her voice was flat and empty. "We cannot even touch the walls without being hurt. How can we find proof of anything?" Before could answer, the light wall of their cell flickered and opened. A guard stepped aside, and Lady walked into the prison. She looked around quickly to make sure no one else was watching, then moved close to the humans. "I should not be here," she whispered. "If anyone finds out I came to see you, I will be punished severely." "Why did you come?" asked. Lady looked at him with her kind eyes. Even now, even when her entire species wanted humans dead, she still showed compassion. "Because I believe you. I have known Prince my entire life. I have seen his ambition, his cruelty, his hunger for power. The Empress has been the only thing standing between him and the throne for 10,000 years. "You think he did this?" asked. "I do not think. I know." Lady pulled something from inside her robe and held it out. It was a small data crystal, glowing with soft green light. "This contains the security recordings from the Grand Celestial Hall. The official recordings have been deleted, but I managed to save a copy before they were destroyed." Took the crystal with trembling hands. "Why would you risk yourself for us? We are nothing to your people." "That is not true," Lady said softly. "The Empress told me once that she saw something special in humans. Your species is young, yes. You are weak compared to us, yes. But you have something we have lost over our long years of immortality." She touched her chest where her heart would be. "You have fire. You have passion. You fight and love and dream with an intensity that we can no longer understand." She invited your representative here because she wanted to show our people that humans deserve respect. Felt tears forming in his eyes. All this time, he had thought the invitation was a test or a trap, but the Empress had been trying to help humanity. She had been trying to bridge the gap between their species. And now she was dying because of her brother's betrayal. "How is the Empress?" he asked. Lady's face grew sad. "She is in a deep sleep, fighting for her life. The failed ceremony damaged her energy core. Without help, she will die within 2 days, and when she dies will become emperor. His first command will be the destruction of Earth. There has to be something we can do, said. Suddenly looked up, her eyes bright with a new thought. Wait, I studied the energy transfer process before we came here. The Empress's body is trying to stabilize after absorbing too much chaotic energy from the star. What she needs is something to anchor her, something to help her system find balance again. Our healers have tried everything, Lady said. Nothing works. Your healers do not have what we have, said. She stood up, her scientific mind working fast. Human cells have a unique property. We evolved on a planet with harsh conditions, so our bodies developed incredible resilience. Our cellular structure can adapt to almost any kind of energy exposure. She looked at with sudden intensity. If a human physically connected with the Empress shared their life energy with her, it might be enough to stabilize her condition. That sounds dangerous, said. It would be extremely dangerous, admitted. The person who attempted it would be exposed to massive amounts of cosmic energy. Their body might not survive. Their mind might be destroyed. But if it works, the Empress would live and she could stop and save Earth. The cell was silent for a long moment. Everyone understood what was suggesting. Someone would have to sacrifice themselves for a chance, just a chance, to save billions of lives. I will do it, said. No, grabbed his arm. I am the captain. If anyone should risk their life, it should be me. Captain, with respect, you do not understand the language or their customs. If I connect with the Empress's mind, I will need to communicate with her. I am the only one who might be able to do that. Lady nodded slowly. He is right. The bond would require mental connection. Only someone who understands our ways could navigate the Empress's consciousness without getting lost forever. Wanted to argue more, but he knew there was no time. Every minute they waited was a minute closer to the Empress's death and Earth's destruction. How do we get him to the Empress? Asked. We are still prisoners. Lady smiled slightly. Leave that to me. I have been preparing for this moment since the ceremony failed. I have allies who believe as I do, guards who are loyal to the true Empress rather than her ambitious brother. She moved to the light wall and pressed her hand against it in a specific pattern. The wall flickered and died. The cell was open. You must go now, Lady said too. My people will guide you to the Empress's sanctuary, but be warned, knows someone might try to save her. His guards patrol every corridor. If they catch you, they will kill you immediately. Looked back at him. This might be the last time he ever saw them. If I do not come back, tell my family I love them, he said. Saluted him with tears in his eyes. You will come back. You will save the Empress, stop the prince, and save Earth. I believe in you. Humanity believes in you. Hugged him tightly. Be brave, she whispered. And remember, no matter what happens in there, you are not alone. We are all fighting with you. Nodded and stepped out of the cell. Lady led him into the dark corridors of the ship, toward the Empress's sanctuary, toward destiny. Behind him, he heard guards shouting. They had discovered the escape. The hunt had begun. Started to run. Ran through corridors of crystal and light, his human feet making loud sounds against the smooth floors. Behind him, he could hear the shouts of guards growing closer. Their long legs could move faster than his, and they knew these hallways far better than any human ever could. Lady ran beside him, her glowing body casting moving shadows on the walls. She moved with grace even at high speed, guiding him through turns and passages that all looked the same to his human eyes. The sanctuary is just ahead, she gasped, through those doors. Two massive doors of solid light stood at the end of the corridor. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time, carved with symbols that represented the Empress's 10,000 years of rule. Behind those doors, the most powerful being in the galaxy lay dying. I cannot go with you inside, Lady said. The sanctuary will only accept those it recognizes, but I will hold the guards here as long as I can. Stopped and looked at her. This woman, who had no reason to help him, was about to fight her own people for a human she barely knew. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "You could be safe, you could pretend you never helped us." Lady smiled sadly. "Because the Empress was right about humans. You carry something precious inside you, something worth protecting." She pushed him toward the doors. "Now go, save her, save all of us." Placed his hands on the doors. They were warm, almost alive. He pushed, and they opened slowly, letting him into the sanctuary beyond. What he saw took his breath away. The sanctuary was a room filled with swirling cosmic energy. Colors that had no names danced through the air like living things. Stars were born and died in tiny explosions around him. The walls did not exist, only endless space stretching in every direction. And floating in the center of it all was the Empress. She hung in the air like a broken angel. Her body, once so bright and powerful, now flickered weakly. Cracks of darkness spread across her glowing skin. Her eyes were closed, her face twisted in pain even in her deep sleep. Walked toward her slowly, feeling the cosmic energy pressing against him from all sides. Each step was harder than the last. The power in this room was trying to push him away, to crush him, to destroy him. But he kept walking. When he finally reached her, he was breathing hard and his whole body was shaking. He looked at the Empress's face, so ancient and so beautiful, and felt a strange connection to her. She had believed in humanity. She had tried to help his people. Now it was his turn to help her. "I do not know if you can hear me," he said softly, "but I came to save you. I came to show you that humans are worth believing in." He reached out his hand and touched hers. The moment their skin connected, his world exploded. He was no longer in the sanctuary. He was falling through memories, through time, through the Empress's mind itself. 10,000 years of history washed over him like a tidal wave. He saw when they were young, when they first discovered the secret of absorbing starlight. He saw them build their empire, spreading across the galaxy like a river of light. He saw wars and peace, triumphs and tragedies, loves found and loves lost. And through it all, he saw the Empress. She had ruled her people through every chapter of their history. She had been their guide, their protector, their mother. She had watched civilizations rise and fall, had seen species evolve and go extinct, had witnessed things no human could ever imagine. But she was also lonely. Felt her loneliness like a weight on his chest. 10,000 years of watching everyone she loved grow old and die while she remained unchanged. 10,000 years of carrying the responsibility of an entire empire. 10,000 years of being but never understood. "You came." The voice filled every part of his mind. It was the Empress, speaking to him from somewhere in the chaos of her shattered consciousness. "I came," answered. "I am here to help you." "Why?" Her voice sounded tired, confused, almost hopeless. "I am dying. My brother has won. Your people will be destroyed. There is nothing left to save." "That is not true," said. He pushed deeper into the swirling madness of her mind, searching for her true self among the broken pieces. "You invited me here because you believed humans had something special. You were right. We do. We never give up. No matter how bad things get, no matter how hopeless it seems, we keep fighting until the very end." He found her. In the center of all the chaos there was a small light, flickering and weak. It was the Empress's core essence, the part of her that was truly her. It was dying. Wrapped his own consciousness around that light. He gave it his warmth, his stubbornness, his human refusal to accept defeat. He shared with her every moment of hope he had ever felt, every time he had fallen down and gotten back up, every dream he had ever dared to dream. "Your species is strange," the Empress said, and there was wonder in her voice. "You live such short lives, yet you burn so brightly. You know death is coming for you from the moment you are born, yet you still love, still create, still hope. How do you do it?" "Because the shortness of life makes it precious," answered. "Because we know we do not have forever, so we treasure every moment. Because we are small and weak, so we learn to stand together. The light grew a little stronger. But's body was failing. The cosmic energy was tearing him apart from inside. He could feel his cells breaking down, his mind starting to fracture. He was giving everything he had to save the Empress, and it was killing him. "You will die if you continue," the Empress said. "You must stop, save yourself." "No," held on, "I came here to save you. I came here to save my people. If I have to die to do that, then I will die. That is what humans do. We sacrifice ourselves for the ones we love." Tears fell from the Empress's closed eyes, turning into stars that scattered across the sanctuary. She had lived for 10,000 years, had seen countless acts of courage and sacrifice, but never had she witnessed anything like this. A creature who could barely live 100 years, giving up his life for beings who had treated him with contempt and cruelty. "Humanity is worth saving," whispered, his strength almost gone. "Please remember that." Outside the sanctuary, the doors burst open. Prince strode in with his personal guards, his face twisted with rage. He saw floating beside the Empress, their hands still connected, and he screamed. "Kill the human, kill him now." The guards raised their weapons, had no strength left to move, no way to defend himself. He closed his eyes and waited for death. But death did not come. A pulse of brilliant light exploded from the Empress. The guards were thrown backward like leaves in a storm, fell to his knees, unable to stand against the wave of power. The Empress's eyes opened. They were no longer just eyes. Something new lived in them now, something fierce and unstoppable. A spark of human fire burning inside an immortal soul. She rose into the air, her body whole again, her light brighter than ever before. She looked down at her brother with 10,000 years of wisdom and a new understanding of what true strength really meant. She said, and her voice shook the foundations of the universe, "We need to talk." The grand celestial hall had been rebuilt in the hours since the ceremony failed. New pillars of crystal rose from the floating platform. New light flowed through the ancient patterns on the floor, but the atmosphere was completely different from before. This was not a celebration, this was a trial. Every noble house of the empire had sent representatives. Thousands of glowing beings filled the hall, their lights flickering with tension and fear. Above them, the same dying star still hung in the sky, but its energy was calm now, no longer threatening to tear apart anything it touched. The Empress stood at the center of the hall, restored to her full power and glory, but those who looked closely could see something different about her. Her light had a new quality to it, something warmer, something more alive. The human essence that Park had shared with her now lived inside her eternal soul. Prince knelt before her in chains of solid light. His face no longer wore its cruel smile. His eyes no longer burned with ambition. He looked like what he truly was, a traitor caught in his own trap. Watched from the side of the hall, he was alive, though barely. The bond with the Empress had nearly killed him. Ladies' healers had worked for hours to save his life. He was weak, thin, and exhausted, but he was here. He needed to see this. Captain and stood beside him. They had been released from prison the moment the Empress woke, kept one hand on shoulder, helping him stay standing, wiped tears from her eyes every few minutes. "Prince of House Eternal," the Empress said, her voice filling the vast hall without effort. "You are charged with treason against the Empire, attempted murder of your Empress, and conspiracy to commit genocide against the human species. How do you answer these charges?" Lifted his head. Even now, even in defeat, there was defiance in his eyes. "I did what was necessary. Humans are insects. They will grow and spread and eventually challenge our supremacy. I was trying to protect our empire by eliminating them before they became a threat." "By killing your own sister?" the Empress asked. "You have become weak," spat. "Soft. You invited those creatures to our most sacred ceremony. You wanted to make peace with them, to treat them as equals. They are not our equals, they never will be. The crowd murmured in agreement. Many still believed as did. Many still saw humans as nothing more than clever animals. The Empress raised her hand, and silence fell instantly. "I have ruled this empire for 10,000 years," she said. "I have seen countless species rise and fall. I have watched civilizations that seemed invincible crumble to dust, and I have learned one truth that my brother never understood." She walked toward slowly, her light casting shadows that danced across the crystal floor. Power does not come from strength alone. It does not come from technology or immortality or the ability to destroy. True power comes from connection, from understanding, from the courage to reach out to those who are different and find what we share. She stopped in front of and looked down at him with sad eyes. "I invited the human representative because I felt something in his species that we have lost. Fire, passion, the willingness to die for what they believe in. I thought if our people could see that, they might remember what it was like to feel alive." She turned to face the crowd. "This human park had every reason to hate us. We ignored his people. We dismissed them as primitive. We blamed them for a crime they did not commit. And yet when I was dying, he risked his own life to save me. He gave me his warmth, his hope, his human heart. He asked for nothing in return except that I remember his people are worth saving." Her voice grew stronger, more powerful. "That is not the action of an insect. That is the action of a hero. That is the action of a species that deserves our respect." She pointed at, "My brother tried to destroy humanity out of fear. But fear is the weapon of the weak. We have ruled this galaxy for 100,000 years. We have nothing to fear from a young species finding its place among the stars. Instead, we should welcome them, learn from them, grow alongside them." Screamed in rage, "You have been corrupted. The human has poisoned your mind. I will not accept this. I will never accept this." He broke free from his chains with a burst of desperate power. Guards rushed toward him, but he was faster. He grabbed a weapon from a fallen guard and pointed it at the Empress. "If I cannot rule the empire," he shouted, "then I will watch it burn." He fired. But the beam of light never reached the Empress, moved without thinking. Despite his weakness, despite his exhausted body, he threw himself in front of her. The weapon's energy struck him in the chest and he fell. Time seemed to stop. The Empress caught before he hit the ground. His eyes were open but unfocused. His breathing was shallow. The human who had already given everything to save her had just sacrificed himself again. "Why?" she whispered. "You already saved me once. Why would you do this again?" Smiled weakly. "Because that is what humans do. We protect the people we care about, no matter the cost." The Empress held him close, and tears of starlight fell from her eyes. Around them, guards finally subdued, forcing him to the ground. The prince's rebellion was over. But the Empress did not care about any of that. She poured her energy into, using the same bond he had created to save her. She gave him life force from the dying star, filtered through her own body, made safe for his human cells. Slowly, color returned to his face. His breathing grew stronger, his eyes focused on hers. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for teaching me what it means to truly live." 3 months later, the Horizon II arrived at Earth orbit, stood at the window of the bridge, looking down at the blue and green planet he had almost never seen again. The fleet that had been sent to destroy humanity was gone, recalled by the Empress the moment she woke from her sleep. In its place, a delegation of diplomats had come to establish formal alliance between their empire and the human species. For the first time in history, humans would have a voice in galactic affairs. They would have protection, technology, opportunities to explore stars they had only dreamed about. Captain stood beside, his uniform newly decorated with medals from both Earth and the Empire. "How does it feel to be a hero?" he asked. Tired admitted, very tired. Laughed from her station. The whole planet wants to meet you. There are parades planned in every major city. The president wants to give you a special award. You might be the most famous human who ever lived." Shook his head. "I do not want fame. I just want to see my family. I want to eat my mother's cooking. I want to sleep in my own bed and know that everyone I love is safe." A communication signal beeped. Answered it, and the Empress's face appeared on the screen. She looked different now, somehow more human in her expressions. The bond she shared with had changed her in subtle ways. "Park," she said formally, though her eyes were warm. "I am calling to inform you that you have been granted the title of Friend of the Throne. This title has never been given to anyone outside our species before. It means that you, and through you, all of humanity, will always have a place of honor in our empire." Bowed his head respectfully. "I am honored, Your Majesty." The Empress smiled, and it was a genuine smile full of affection. "I am the one who is honored. You showed me that the universe is bigger than power and immortality. You showed me that a short life, lived with passion and courage, is worth more than 10,000 years of cold existence." "What happened to Prince?" asked. The Empress's smile faded. "He has been exiled to the void between stars. He will drift there forever, alone with his hatred, unable to harm anyone ever again." There was silence for a moment. Then the Empress spoke again, and her voice was soft. "They have ruled the galaxy for 100,000 years, but we had forgotten something important. We had forgotten how to feel, how to connect, how to be truly alive." She looked directly at, "You reminded us. Your species reminded us, and for that humanity will always have our gratitude and our protection." The communication ended, turned back to the window and looked at Earth, his home, the planet where billions of people lived, loved, dreamed, and died, the planet that had almost been destroyed because of fear and prejudice. But humanity had survived. More than that, humanity had proven its worth to the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Not through weapons or technology or conquest, but through courage, sacrifice, and heart. Put his hand on shoulder, ready to go home. Nodded slowly. "Yes, I think I am finally ready." As the ship began its descent toward Earth, made one final promise to himself. He would never forget what had happened. He would spend the rest of his life working to build bridges between humans and other species. He would make sure that the fire the Empress had seen in humanity would never go out. Because that was what humans did. They faced the darkness. They refused to give up. They reached out their hands to strangers and turned them into friends. And in the end, they showed the universe that size and power meant nothing compared to the strength of a courageous heart. The stars above them burned on, endless and eternal. And somewhere among them, a new chapter in human history had just begun.